You got
But
Anyway.
we did our.
What's that?
We did.
Did you get the one that's? Remove it, slide that behind.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Today is February the 27th, 2025. I now call the Blytheville Monthly Board of Directors meeting to order. I will establish first by establishing our quorum. Mrs. Lewis, Ms. Wells,
Here.
Ms. Bogart,
Here.
Ms. Johnson,
Here.
Ms. Nichols, Mr. Jefferson, here, myself, Aaron will be absent tonight. As we always start our meetings, remembering our why. Our kids are the heartbeat of our community. Everything that we will hear tonight, all the decisions that will be made should be focused and centered around our children. So that is our why we are here. Our kids in the Blytheville School District and the community and of the city of Blytheville. I'll start now with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight as well. Mrs. Blankenship, I will entertain a motion at this time to amend the agenda to add action item I. Action item I will be contracted services for a financial assistant. The name is Myra Graham, MYRA GRAHAM, and that'll be financial assistant, contracted work. Action item I. I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda at this time.
Make a motion, we amend the agenda for action item 5 to include Myra Graham, financial.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor of amending the agenda to include action item I, Myra Graham, hiring as a financial assistant, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Please add action item I. We will now move down to our agenda tonight, board. We have a presentation from a superintendent search firm, Mr. Keith Williams with McPherson and Jacobson. Would you please come now at this time?
Also, I have Mr. John Hoy with me that will be assisting me if we work with you, and John will be introducing himself to you in just a few minutes, okay? Real quickly, I'd like to know what each of you did. If you don't mind, that kind of helps me get a focus in working with the board. I'll start with Ms. I said
Ms. Lewis.
Ms. Lewis.
You know what I do.
What?
I work at the Mississippi County Courthouse as the chief deputy.
Oh, okay. And Ms. Wells, now I guess you're retired.
Yes, I am. You and I've been together for almost 20 years.
Yes. Seen you a number of times at ASBA. Mr. Hammond,
Yes, I work for Kellogg's.
work for Kellogg's.
Preschool teacher at a daycare.
Your name is Bogart? Is that-
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Toby?
I'm retired.
Tired?
I work for Mississippi County ELC, but I work with the Head Start program, and I am I supervise along with another lady, the family service workers, which are like social workers. Yes.
And Mr. Jefferson?
I'm a retired assistant police chief for the
Okay.
city of Blytheville and current electrician for the city of Blytheville.
And I'm an attorney, but I don't vote, so I don't.
Oh, you're retired. You're still in your position. I don't know more than that. That's good. I'll share with you a little bit of information about me. And then I'll let Mr. Hoy introduce himself, and then we'll get into the packet and I'll present to you what the services we provide. My name again is Keith Williams. I grew up in White County, that's around Ball Knob, Searcy. Worked in that school district for a number of years. I coached for a while, but they canceled me out of it because I lost a lot of ball games. And then went back into teaching and eventually got into administration. My first superintendent's job was over at Cross County School District in Cherry Valley. Worked there for a number of years, worked in Wynn for a couple of years as assistant superintendent. Went to BB for 10 years as superintendent and had the pleasure there of rebuilding a total new campus. It wasn't because it was good things that happened, it was bad things that happened, but we came out really good for doing it, fires and tornadoes. And then after that, I started working for Harding University teaching leadership classes. I've been doing it as a part-time for years and years. So the last 15, 18 years, I've been teaching. Some of 13 of those years has been full-time with Harding. I just retired from there last semester, but I'm back teaching another class now, Saturday class. But I enjoy it. And of course, I enjoy working for McPherson and Jacobson. I've been with them now for about 15 years. I'm their lead consultant in Arkansas. I have done between 65 and 70 searches in the state of Arkansas, from corner to corner, north, south, east, west, each corner of the state. And I enjoy working with school boards, and I think part of that's because I've served as a school board member for 10 years at Ball Knott. And I think it makes me have appreciation, or assist me have appreciation for working with school boards. That's a little bit about me. I'll let Mr. Poland introduce himself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am John Hoy. I grew up in Hughes, Arkansas, down the road, Pease. I started my educational career up at Arkansas State University, where I actually finished all three of my degrees there. And I've been working mostly in the Delta area, not completely all of my life. I've worked a little bit in Atlanta, Georgia for 4 years, worked a little bit in Mississippi for 1 year. However, my initial start in school business was math teacher at Fort City, Arkansas. Left there, went to Atlanta, left there, came back to Arkansas, worked at Fort City Alternative School. So I got to know that situation and how that works. After working at Fort City Alternative School, I got a job as an assistant principal down in Hughes, Arkansas. It's interesting going back home once you leave. But then I became principal at Hughes, Arkansas. Then I got a call one day and said, hey, we'd like to give you a job in central office. You don't have to do ball games. I took it. I went to Marietta, Arkansas, Lee County, still in the Delta. And I stayed there for a while. Probably was going to retire there. But when I ended up moving to Monticello, Arkansas, I became assistant superintendent, got a call from the State Department, went up there for 4 years as assistant commissioner for Dr. Tom Kimbrell at the time. Left there, went to Helena. They wanted me to be a state takeover superintendent in Helena. I stayed there for 4 years. We came out of fiscal distress, and we were not necessarily in academic distress. Our scores were not where they should be. I was there for 4 years, and they were starting to improve. But I did something unusual. No, not unusual. I got married, and we bought a house, and we moved to Mississippi. So it was not good for me to work in Helena as superintendent and live in Mississippi. So went to Mississippi, taught a year, but then the State Department called me back. So up until last year, I was assistant state superintendent, worked with a lot of districts around the Delta area, including this school district. I was here about once a month last year. So I'm kind of familiar with your district. I'm familiar with the Delta. I'm familiar with the people. And since I grew up here, I'm kind of familiar with the situation. And even though I live in Mississippi, I get the Arkansas Democrat Gazette every day and continue to read. But that's me.
Very good. Thank you, John. Okay, you have a packet, a little folder in front of you. This is not the folder I normally would use, but there's a little mix up with UPS, and I had to get after it at 1 o'clock today and have these printed up from a digital copy, and it's not quite as nice as I usually have, but I think they'll surprise you with the meeting tonight. I'm going to go through a number of this. I'm not going to read the whole 37 pages to you, but I do want to share some things. And my goal is for you, when I get through talking in a few minutes, number one is to allow you to ask questions, and hopefully you will. But number two is you have a good overview of what we do. And we divide a search up into phases, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But there's a lot of things that we do that not common to school boards when they do a search, because they do not have the network or the capacity to call and reference check, do all those things that we have, because we've been in this business a long time. On page number 3. Our process is very comprehensive. I've just got some things highlighted, and I'm going to just go through those and not read, but just hit high points. We are very comprehensive in our search. You'll see that when we get through the 4 phases in just a minute. We work with diverse stakeholder groups. Now, you may not have an understanding of what stakeholder groups are, but that's what we hang our hat on. is having input from stakeholders. Now, the stakeholders we ask you to help assist in assembling are a stakeholder group of teachers, administrators, classified staff, and students. And we set a date, have anywhere from 10 to 14, 15 of those people together. John and I will come in and go through a protocol that we follow. We will take notes and create a comprehensive summary of everything that we glean from talking to those stakeholders. Now, the reason I say that we present that to you afterwards is the fact that you need to know what people are thinking. And sometimes you may not know what is the dominant issues that people feel like you're facing or whatever. You may think you do, and you may, but it also is good to get input from others. We also have a community meeting in the evening and allow the community to share with us their views. And also sometimes it's venting. That's okay too, but we take notes and give that back to you. We are a consensus decision-making process, which means that we do not appoint the superintendents. We strictly work for you and assist you in finding the right match. That's the key. Now, most of the time that you spend on doing this search is the first night that we meet, and we establish the foundation for the search. And we have a couple of meetings in between, 15-minute informational updates. And then at the last meeting that we have with you is when you pick who you're going to interview. And then for anywhere from 3 to 4 days, nights, you are interviewing. And all day long, those finalists are being interviewed by the stakeholder groups and the community, and that occupies their whole day. So you may have a finalist coming in on a Tuesday. He shows up or she shows up at 8:30 or 9, and you finish an interview with them that night at 8:30 or 9. But they've been I guess you would say scheduled the whole day. And they already should know a lot about the district, but this allows them to talk with people, and that's very important. We're very transparent. By that, I mean, we're going to do everything that we can that's legal and ethical and reveal it as we go through the process. We're not going to break any law. We're not going to break the FOI law or steer the board in the wrong way in any way. We recruit candidates. Right now, and I may be getting a little ahead of myself, but when I look at Blytheville and I think about recruiting people for this job, two of the foundational things I think are important is being financially astute and also understand curriculum and instruction. And then those other things are necessary too, but you can hire somebody that only has the soft skills and they can't do the job. That's just the bottom line. I'm very straightforward with you. Our goal is to work to recruit and find applicants that have both. And we're going to start off with financial and curriculum instruction, and then we'll move into all those other areas when we start doing our vetting process. Confidentiality with candidates. Candidate may be a strong candidate. They call us and they say, I want to apply, but I don't want my name released. Well, first of all, they're asking contrary to what the Arkansas FOI law allows. We will sometimes work with a candidate and tell them that we will do some vetting on them as much as we can and tell them if we feel like they are a valid candidate or not. But then when the closing of application comes, they got to sign off, their name is released and becomes public. Now, notice one other thing. We never promise an applicant or finalist anything. I will not tell them what the board will do. I will not tell them what you will pay them. I will have maybe some parameters that you allow me to express, but I will never commit the board to anything that you needs to be your decision. Our reference checks I think are quite unique because when we talk to candidates, first thing we're going to do is interview them. When they send an application, we're going to go every bit of those materials, resumes, reference letters, their application, work history. We're going to go through that, and then we're going to call them and we're going to interview them. When I say interview, we're going to do a telephone interview, and we're going to look at the criteria which you inform us that you're looking for in a new superintendent, and we're going to quiz them and see if what they put in the application matches the criteria, or they just had someone help assist them in filling out that application. So we go through that vetting process, and then we start going deeper and deeper into people. You'll get 3 reference letters, and if I'm going to ask for a reference letter, I'm going to hope that they're going to give me a good reference. Sometimes they are surprised because those references are not always positive, but that's just the beginning. we start going deeper and deeper. If they've worked in like 3 school districts, we're going to talk to people in all 3 school districts they've worked in. We're going to talk to them about if they were a teacher 20 years ago, if we can find someone that talked to that knew them as a teacher and worked with them as a teacher, we like to find out if they were a good teacher or not. Then we keep moving on in the districts they've worked in, talk to teachers there, administrators there. We like to talk to people in the community where they have worked in the past. You can do that through your Chamber of Commerce. You can do that through your Ministerial Alliance. And once in a while, we'll actually tag into a parent that was in that community when they worked there as an administrator. And then, of course, we will check very extensively where they're currently working and do reference work there. Not who they tell us to, but who we randomly will select and talk to. So if John and I bring you a candidate and we say, we will recommend this candidate to you to consider interviewing, then you can rest assured we've talked to 15 to 20 people about it. We've looked on social media about it. We're going to find out if there's any skeletons in the background. We're going to do all of this before we put our name and attach to a client. We will continue to work with you till you have a superintendent in place. If we go through this process and you interview 3 people and you say, we don't care for any of the 3, we don't think they can do the job, then we're back with you and we're going to help you find one that you feel comfortable working with. We're with you till you get your final one. We also, after the search is over with, we do what we call a phase 5, which is a goal setting session. And that goal setting session now does not take place of the evaluation. It's not in lieu of the evaluation, but it's an opportunity for you as a board and the new superintendent to get together and us facilitate a meeting where they understand what you expect and you tell them what you expect. They also will have input to that to see if it's realistic. It may be something dealing with teaching and learning, instruction, maybe finances, it may be something else, but we typically will have 3 goals and a way of evaluating those goals so that every quarter, if you want to as a board, you can go back to that new superintendent and say, how are we progressing on these goals? And it gives you an avenue for open communication. Sometimes superintendents will fail because they never know what the board expects of them, but the board thinks they do. But this is a good way of addressing that. Again, we work for you. We provide options for you and you direct the process. Look over on page 4. I'm going to start moving a little faster now. Your students, your staff, and community deserve the best, and that's our goal in helping you find quality leadership as we go through this process. McPherson and Jacobson is a national firm. We're one of the top 3 national firms in the country. We work in 35 plus states, have 125 consultants. All of that's okay, but what's important to you is this. John Hoy and Keith Williams know Arkansas. And that's our focus. We understand your district and we know things about your district after having been here for years and years that an outside firm may never know or be able to learn the finer points about your district as they do the search. Sustainability and leadership. Look on page number 5. I think this is a very important point. I marked key here as I was doing my prep work. When we help a school board find a superintendent, we have a record of sustainability and leadership. The national average now for a superintendent is about 3 years or less. That's the national average, all 50 states. When we work with a school district and a board of education, and we help you find a superintendent, our stats are this: about 80% are still in the position they were hired in after 5 years. About 60% are in the same position after 10 years. And we have about 40% over 15 years. Now, this is with 1,000 plus searches that we're talking about, not 2 or 3. This is 1,000 plus searches. Now, that is very important. And let me emphasize the reason that has so much significance in this. A school board and a superintendent is almost like a marriage. There's a lot of good people that can't marry and be happy together. There's a lot of good churches that can have a pastor and a pastor's wife, and the pastor's wife creates a lot of difficulty. Well, the school board needs a superintendent. Sorry. I don't know anything about that now, I'll tell you. A superintendent has to have a type of relationship similar to a pastor and a church. And his spouse or her spouse is also very critical in this process. And that we incorporate the spouse into the final interviews. We incorporate them in so the board knows who the spouse is and can question the spouse about some things. And I think that's good. Let me mention one other thing on page 5. If John and I work with you, we will have ownership of this district till we find your superintendent. We don't take our job lightly. We will not take it lightly, and we will assume ownership of the district and do everything in our power to assist you in finding a quality individual. Okay, look over on page 7. The whole process, there's 5 phases of this search, 5 phases. First phase is when you just lay the foundation for the search. That's getting it started. Criteria is important, timeline is important. That's the first 2 things we have to have so we get an application posted, start taking applications. After we do that, we establish how you want to advertise for the position. We also will work on what we call selecting a point of contact. The point of contact is our individual that's, I guess you'd say, boots on the ground, that number one would like help get these focus groups organized. Somebody in district would have to work with various individuals to get the student focus group assembled, get a teacher group assembled. Now, when you start assembling these groups, you want a diverse group. When you look at teachers, you don't want just teachers from the high school. You want teachers from each school, both genders, ethnicity, all of those things need to be part of it. If you get elementary teachers, you don't want all of them out of the first grade. You want them in 2 or 3 grades. Same way with junior high, content areas, and whatever. You need in high school, you need to also have teachers, different content areas, extracurricular activity sponsors, those things. So you get a very good overview of all the people that you're talking with. But the point of contact is the individual that helps us do that. And that has to be a person that can commit a little bit of time, especially up first, because they're going to organize these groups, working with your staff. Then after they organize them, they're going to have to create a listserv, remind them of when the meeting date is, what time they're going to meet and where, and then we show up and we interview them and do all the things that we do with those focus groups. Now, one other point, I know I'm throwing a lot at you. When we meet with those focus groups, the next thing that we do is we start prepping them to be an interview committee. Each focus group will interview the finalists if that's what you want. Now, they will not tell you who to hire, but they will have a set of questions that we have proof, John and I will have proof and approved that they will use in an hour interview. And then when they get through interviewing, they'll do 2 things. They're going to debrief, and when they debrief, they're going to tell you the good points about that candidate from their perspective, their lens. Then they're going to tell you their concerns about that candidate from the lens that, now each group is going to look through the lens that's appropriate for them. You can imagine what the students are going to talk about. One of the first things they always hear is cafeteria. And it can go into other things. Sometimes it's dress code and other things like that. But they still will ask very substantive questions as well. Some student groups ask very good questions. Administrators are going to be focusing on a different thing than teachers will. And the classified staff will be doing the same thing. So we prep them to become an interview committee. Phase 2, we gather stakeholder input. That's when we will come back, spend a day in the evening in the district, gather all this information, give you a very brief report. After that, then we'll create a very lengthy summary of all of our input that we got. Also, when we're gathering stakeholder input through these focus groups, we place on your website a link to Survey Monkey, where anyone in the district can fill out that survey. And it's a survey of only 4 questions, but they don't have to. We ask them to tell us what's their status: student, parent, just a patron, or a grandparent, volunteer, whatever. We ask them to tell us where it's coming from. And then we have record of that we bring back to you as well. Those online comments are submitted to you just as they're written, except we do not allow personal attacks or names, and we do not allow curse words. Bad grammar, it'll pass. Misspelled words will pass, but those 2 things will not. Now in phase 3, that is when that John and I put hours and hours in when we start vetting these applicants. When you start calling people and you you want to talk to them, you can imagine what happens when you leave numbers and they call you back and you can't answer. It takes a lot of time to go through an extensive vetting process for an applicant if they have the potential to be a finalist for this position. Then in phase 4, that's the point where the board starts spending some more time, because that's when you're going to be We're going to be coming back to you with a summary of the individuals that we feel like can do the job. Now, when I say that, we're going to bring you a summary of our reference work. We will meet with you, Mr. Hammett, and tell you why there's 13 people here that never made this bottom list, the short list. We'll tell you why from our perspective, our lens. But if you decide you still want to interview them, that's your prerogative. But normally, when we tell the board president, we only talk to one at a time, remember, so we do that. When we talk to you, we can tell you why, and after you tell the rest of the board why, even though they thought that that might be a good candidate, very rarely ever do they bring that candidate forward, because we know why we're not going to recommend it. And then when we come back with those recommendations, we'll also bring the reference summary. We'll bring a video of each one of those that you will go and look at in executive session. And you'll have a chance to see what type of presence they have, how professional they are, see all of this. And then you'll use the summary work, the application, all the things that we submit to you, plus that video to make a decision on who you want to interview. And you'll come out of that executive session, tell me who you want to interview. In a matter of minutes, we will have the interview scheduled, contacted those individuals, and have them set up on the days you want interviews to be conducted. Then the last part of it, the phase 5, is where we work with establishing the objectives or goals, and that's in addition to our regular search. Okay, so summarizing it now, phase 1, you tell us what your criteria is going to be. We have a process we go through to determine that. You establish a timeline. And if you've got that timeline, John, I'd like to just let him look it up.
You won't get it. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. When I say timeline, is we create a calendar which we follow through the search process. Now, let me share this with you. When we establish a timeline, very rarely ever do we not follow this timeline. 1 or 2 times, because the death of a finalist and things like that have caused us to delay it for 2 or 3 weeks, come back and redo. But this timeline is your goal, is your plan to complete this process over a period of probably 7 weeks or so. You can't do a valid search with all the reference work we do if you shorten it up to 3 or 4 weeks. You can't do it. I mean, you can do some super boards do it, but you're not doing a comprehensive search process when you do it that way. You see what we're meeting on tonight, the 27th. If you happen to want us to work with you, if you wanted to stay after your regular board meeting for a little while and let's set the calendar, identify the criteria, and some other things, and we could do that. It'd take less than an hour. But that would be the foundation of getting things moving. If we did that, then by Monday, we'd be advertising, have an application posted, but probably next Wednesday, less than a week, and it'd be open to our website. Our website gets 100,000 hits a month typically. And we also send out 3,000 plus, we have about 3,000 plus contacts of people that work with us that say, we'd like to know when you have openings. We do that as well. LinkedIn, Twitter, X, we use all of those services to communicate about the opening in your district. Then advertise the position. Over now on the next page, when I work a search, I try to coordinate as much as I can with the regular board meeting. You have as many, you probably have special meetings. Well, most of the time, special meetings are not good. That's for me speaking as board superintendent. So we try to coordinate our activities with you at regular board meeting nights. Like on March the 20th, we'd come back. That's the day we would try to be in the district all day and have that community meeting at 6 o'clock. After that community meeting was over with, we would come in here and give you a little update on all of our activities that day. And that is your regular board meeting in March. Okay.
Address that for just a minute. It
ma'am.
says March 20th, we'll be on travel. The board will let you meeting with the interim superintendent in the district.
No, we want that. We want to make sure that all the board members are there that can be there when we meet with you.
Was that
Well,
day?
it may be the 18th, March the 18th.
Okay, that one, the board-
17th or 18th.
Okay, I'll have to check my schedule and see if that happens to be, then I'll check it out. We'll have to pick a date that we meet with you. Then, we'd close these dates. If we got her kicked off, we'd close applications, April the 3rd, which would give us about 4 weeks for keeping the applications posted. Give us time to talk, recruit some people, make calls. Every time we call somebody, we can't get them to apply. But we can. Sometimes if we make a hit out of 4 or 5 calls, then we feel like we've had success. We know people that we feel like could possibly have the potential to do this job, then we call. And then when we meet, that other board meeting, then that next board meeting that we meet with you after we'd have to set a board meeting where we come back and present the finalists. And that would be probably, after spring break, and that would be a special meeting probably. And then if we have a special meeting after that, within 4 or 5 days after you select the finalists, we'd start the interviews. And that could be determined according to your schedule as well. I just put tentative dates down here to kind of get it all in focus about what could happen, but I have to look at these other dates since you moved your board meeting to the, you say the 20th is when you moved it to in March, or 18th?
No.
March 17th.
17th, okay, 17th. Okay.
17th or the 18th.
Yeah, 17th or the 18th, okay. Well, that would take care of what we would do, this, review the statement. We would meet with the stakeholder chairs, review the candidates, select finalists, those type of things. We also assist you in developing interview packets. Now, let me tell you about this. We don't tell you what you have to do in an interview, but we will assist you in when you give us criteria and you tell us what you're looking for, then we will create a bank of questions related to those criteria. And then we will send you 30, 35 questions and use SurveyMonkey to do it, where you prioritize the questions you like. And then if you want to add questions to what we have crafted in a draft form, that's fine. But then when we get the top questions that you prioritized as a group, the ones that want them the most, questions the most, then we will create an interview packet for you so that each night you interview, you will have a separate rubric to score each applicant. Numerically score them if you use it that way, it's effective. Now, let me tell you one other thing we do. We recommend, we can't sit with you in an interview, but we can sure recommend and ask you to do this. Every interview should be a replica of the one before. That means that you have the same questions in the same order. If there's a need for a follow-up question, that's fine. But we don't want one person to get an interview where that half the questions are left off and the other person gets all 22, 25, whatever it is. That way, if we are challenged, then we can defend our process. We have a good track record not being challenged because we really emphasize doing it right and legal. Fairness. Fairness is important. Well, that's an example of a search calendar, which would be adjusted appropriately. Moving through quickly, there's 2 or 3 other things. We also do work. I did this, and you may have already had this. John, you want to pass like this? I've got the information from AAEA of all the superintendent salaries condensed in an Excel format where I can, and it's based on enrollment. So I go in and look at the district enrollment of Blytheville, and I go to 7 smaller districts compared to Blytheville and the 7 larger districts compared to Blytheville. This goes from 1,423 to 1,704. I put Blytheville right in the middle. You can see the salary of the superintendent in Blytheville. And then you can see down at the bottom, I have the average of all 15 of them, which would be 132,176. And then adding a little dynamic to it, I remove the outliers, the high and the low. Notice how close, when you remove the high and low, how close they are in comparison. Bottom line blue shows the average of removing the high and low when you take 2 out. But that's just information that you need when you start thinking about hiring a new superintendent. You should know at the beginning, when you get to the interview stage and you finish that interview, Mr. Hammett, that you could tell them salary range, whatever, based on that needs to be decided by the board. We'll never tell them what the salary is going to be. As I've said before, I'm repetitious, but we don't do that. That's strictly yours. Okay, there's probably 2 or 3 more loose ends I need to talk about. For a retiree, this is hard work. I'm kidding. If I didn't know how to do it, I wouldn't. We also will do background checks, criminal, educational, and financial background checks of individuals that you get serious about and want possibly employ. Let's go to, I mentioned the phase 5, the goal setting session, which we do a few weeks after you hire a new superintendent. And that way we coordinate a time with them and you that y'all can work and meet. You'll see all of our timeline and who does what there for pages 15, 16, 17. And I'm going through, I covered a lot of this. Look at the cost, that's on page 21. The fee for us conducting a search during phases 1 through 4 will be $13,000. If we added phase 5, the goal setting session, that would be $2,000 additional. And then our estimated expenses would be $3,000. Typically, the most expense that you will have is some copying expense in our home office and UPS expense of sending things, and Mr. Hoy and my mileage. That's most of what the expense will be. I don't normally, I'm kind of conservative, no former soup. I don't like to spend money that doesn't have to be spent. Now, what I would really like, well, there's one other thing, and I'm not going to read these, but there's a number of letters in the back of people that have used our service. Even more important than that, there's a list of districts we've served in this state over the last 17, 18 years. List of all the districts that we did searches in. What I like to point out about that is you'll notice a lot of districts from that list on 3 pages there are repeat searches. A lot of them have done it, used us twice. Some have used us 3 times. I'm with DeWitt right now doing the 3rd search for them. Into the 2nd search. And then we also, there's one there that we've done 4 searches in. East End Bigelow outside of Little Rock. We've done 4 searches. Every one of them is 3 years apart. So they hire somebody that's pretty competent and somebody picks them up and takes them to a higher place. But that's a little bit, and we have the reference letters all in the back of the packet. Questions of me? That's what I'd like you to hit me with. Good.
Mr. Williams, I have several questions for you. Looking for pretty much, went over this, and most of the board members that is veteran board, 3 of us here, Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Hand and myself, we kind of know what we're looking for, naturally.
Yeah.
But not saying, and we knew then, but we didn't get them. But each time when you mistakes, you try to do better, whatever. But I personally would like for you to bring us, when you interview these candidates, to make sure, like you did mention about that you will be speaking with, let's say their supervisor or someone, another superintendent about their performance.
If they're performing as superintendent now, we'll speak to their current board members.
Right. Well, yes, that's where you get the truth from. That exactly, that says it all.
And if they're an administrator in the district, then we will still talk to the superintendent, because chances are the board has had that individual make presentations to them. They know how they handle themselves, how competent they appear, and they're confident they are in their role, this type of.
And my main concern, like I said, went over a lot of things about the leadership style, experience, and with the curriculum development commitment, with the budget, and the commitment of equality. Now, and also the strategies that they can perform to submit to the community as far as engaging them, with this board of the school districts. But I want to make sure that you talk to those board members or whoever that you say you pick 3. Make sure that they are fair. I mean, that those candidates as exhibit being fair. Because we have sometimes people in place, they kind of have a soft skill, as I say, a soft skill individual. It's my terminology, I would say. I want a superintendent to be able to lead and to be able to be transparent and be consistent, not inconsistent. As far as if a job, for example, if a job posted is in the district and it specifies what we are looking for, I expect that person that you bring to us and hope we hire will not deviate from that.
But what you're saying is they follow policy.
Exactly, 100%. I do not want a person, like I said, soft skilled individual that going to say, I'm more qualified than Mrs. Ivory, but Ivory gets the position from the superintendent because of likeness or whatever. And if you don't have a superintendent or principal experience 4 or 5 years, and if that job post calls for that, I expect for that superintendent to go exactly by that.
Well, that's very
I
important.
expect, and that's what I have a problem with this district, this board to a certain extent, or this district. I expect to put people in place, what you done posted and called for. Don't use as not being equal, because someone that you like, or this and that. And then when they get these positions, that's the time for them to exercise themselves. What can they do for the district? And then when you look back at them, they feel at the same level. They fell in grade.
But the starting point for every position should be a very comprehensive job description.
And it should
Or
be,
position guide, and you have them for every position in the district. That's the
Right.
first thing. If not, that would be a very good task to work on as a district, complete that.
and I want them to be firm and bold and stand what's right for the district, not for other people.
Ms. Johnson has a question for
Okay,
us.
Ms. Johnson?
Your guarantee, is it regardless of what the causative agent was as to not rehire?
We guarantee for 2 years with only one disclaimer. If over 4 board members change over in those 2 years, we would not guarantee it. If we had, in this case, you got an 8-member board, if 4 board members became new board members in that 2-year period, we would not guarantee it. And can you see why? Because
Well, absolutely.
and that's the only disclaimer. We just started doing that a couple of years ago, but we had boards that turned over 5 out of 7 in some places. And then they wanted to exercise our guarantee, and we did, till we started putting out disclaimer.
Will that price still be the same if we're not satisfied with the first set that you bring to
Yes,
us?
ma'am. Well, I'll be with you till you're happy with the candidate.
And it should be finalized at least by July the 1st.
We hope to have you a candidate you have a candidate appointed by, late April,
April.
maybe even mid-April, just depending on how the calendar works out. I wouldn't want to go any later than the 3rd week of April.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Is there any other board members that have any other questions for Mr. Williams at this
I
time?
have a question. Okay.
Mr. Williams, thank you for your presentation. We will,
Make sure, Mr. Hammond, that you give him the correct date, when we decide before we meet as soon as possible, so they can make their arrangement.
so,
The board.
for the board, we received proposals from other search firms. This was the only search firm that confirmed to present to us tonight as our board. We see the cost. If there is a motion to accept the proposal for McPherson Jacobs, and I would like to stress or caution us that we can't prolong this search much longer. That we will need to make a decision soon. I'll open the floor for motions once we get to our action items. If anyone would like to make that motion for McPherson Jacobs tonight.
Is it now or is it on the agenda for?
It is an agenda item. However, we have other proposals that we have received from the BWP search firm and others. This was the only company that is willing to present to us tonight at the regular board meeting.
Okay, what about you said other proposal, BWP?
You got theirs.
That's last month.
Yeah, so that's just 2, so
Yeah.
more that we.
Can't afford to wait for them to decide if
Well,
they want to
yeah.
make their proposal.
But we can keep that in mind when we prepare to make a motion or a decision. We'll now move down to our report. Ms. Blankenship, the interim data for the Atlas.
Good afternoon or evening, everybody. Let's start with the middle school interim data. A little while ago, I think maybe a couple of meetings ago, Ms. Starks did some reporting for us. We'll start giving these reports to Dr. Smith one while she's out. We'll start with sixth grade at the middle school. Notable improvements in the shift from level 1 to level 2. Let me just remind you of the Atlas Summatus. Level 1 will be the lowest, and the level 4 is at the very top. So when we say we're moving between these different levels, that gives you a reference. They had a notable shift from level 1 to level 2, which means that they're showing growth. Students are moving. If you notice the trend, level 1 decreased from 61 in the fall to 54% in the winter, indicating an improvement. Level 2 increased, then levels 3 and 4 remained relatively stable. We're looking at and this is ELA, English Language Arts. If you're looking at 7th grade, most students moved again from level 1 to level 2 with a promising increase in level 4 performance. And the key thing is that we always want to show that we are growing and that students are moving from one level to the next level. 8th grade, and this is still ELA, the largest jump in level 3 performance suggesting growth in mid-level proficiency. Level 4 declined slightly, level 3 improved significantly from 6% to 12%, the most notable gain among all the grades. The summary, pretty much, saw a reduction in level 1 and increases in level 2, signaling overall improvement. And again, we want to show that we are moving from one level to the next level. And in some instances, you will see where you might be in the same level, but it did decrease the amount of students. Summary of bright lights, again, 6th and 7th grade saw a reduction in level 1 and increase in level 2. 7th grade showed encouraging jump in level 4 proficiency. So that means we got students up there. 8th grade experienced a strong increase in level 3 performance though level 1 slightly rose. And overall, the data indicates positive movement, and that's what we want to see. Positive movement, steady movement, showing growth. Math, 6th grade trends, a noticeable reduction in level 1 and an increase in higher proficiency levels, particularly level 3 and level 4. 7th grade trends, we're also seeing, we saw a rise in level 1, suggesting a need for targeted intervention. And the information you get lets you know which students, they identified the students that you can put into certain groups, targeted groups, and meet the needs of those students through interventions. 8th grade, key improvements, the strongest growth occurred in 8th grade with a 10% decrease in level 1 and increases in all other performance levels. So that is very good. 6th and 8th grade saw improvements with fewer students in level 1 and more in higher proficiency levels. 7th grade showed a slight setback with more students in level 1, a decrease in level 2. However, level 4 showed slight improvements.
You think that decreases due to virtual?
For the 8th grade,
For
the math.
But it was 7th grade that had the virtual.
I'm sorry, one of them.
Overall, the data is suggesting positive movement in 6th and 8th grades. 7 may need additional support to reverse this trend, but that is what our interventions are for. And because of this test, you can always adjust your intervention groups and meet the needs of those students. Added support, which you guys approved through the 1003 grant, Mr. Marcus Nelson and Mr. Kelly Miller are going to be working directly with those 6th and 7th grade students to close those learning gaps. And it started just a couple of weeks ago, February 18th. And if you remember, we also do science. Key takeaway, while level 1 saw a small increase, there was notable growth in level 3, showing improvement in higher proficiency. And again, we're showing growth, we're moving kids. 7th grade science, a major drop in level 1, strong increase in level 2, showing significant progress. And also 8th grade, the most significant reduction in level 1 across all grades, substantial growth in level 2, and steady increases in higher performing levels of 3. So there's showing a strong upward momentum, especially in seventh grade and eighth grade as far as science, with the need for continued support to maintain these gains. And that's the middle school interim data report. BES is completing their interims this week. The high school data. We look at their particular data that they share with us and how they are from one interim biology. Moving too fast, they're gonna get caught up. So in the biology, they're also showing growth, and that's what we want to show. It's not as significant as we want, and I think we realized that the pacing has to be picked up, because when you're doing these, you're testing pretty much over everything. It's just not like they know that you're just covering this 9 weeks, just this. So they have to pick up the pacing, but also, again, we want to show growth. And that's the most important thing that we're showing. We're trying to move our kids, and we are moving our kids. In the data conferences that are being held with students, they can go on to the next one. We're learning that some students have identified their own areas because they recognize that there were some basic math skills that they might have missed back when they were in the 6th and 7th grade, when we had virtual. And, we had that as an option, and half the kids were virtual, half were on campus. And so there are some gaps they missed. So we will be adjusting the high school groups, their intervention groups, to address those gaps that we're finding that they're missing in algebra and even in some science areas. We have Miss Mary Allen coming from the co-op. She will go through all of this data also with the math team and identify those students, and then make sure that we target our interventions to pull that information and meet their particular needs. And ELA reading for both 9th and 10th grade, we're seeing increases as we are moving within. We're seeing some level 4s, not significant gains, but we are making and showing growth, which is what we want to show. I was informed that they're going to do a mock Atlas interim. The MCL put this together. So they will be giving a mock interim based on, mock Atlas test. So that, that's, once again, students have time, they can practice. They can get some of the information on, because these questions are gonna be just like the regular test. The students are gonna take it serious so that, we can still get some more data. Hopefully I'll be able to share that with you at the next meeting. And remember, our primary schools, they don't do the entrance. So if you have questions or something else you need to know about that I didn't cover, just let me know and I can send this information to you if you would like it.
What about the status of the, where we have a percentage we have, or approximately how many has not been certified? The teachers, Mr. Stark, we used to get the information from her.
Okay, I don't have those numbers with me, but we did just gain another licensed teacher who, in science at the high school.
At the high school.
Yes, so we have picked up one more.
So at the beginning, we had like, about 13 of them, something like that, back in September.
Right, and we, every month, it seems like picked up 1 or 2 more teachers who passed the practice and gained their license.
Is Miss Stark still with us?
I think today is the last day, so I don't think she's here.
She was loading up her cart. But if you can get that information,
I can get that.
email it to the board.
Who will be taking her position of overseeing that while she's on maternity leave?
Between Dr. Smith and myself. And to pull the data, that's what I was saying at the beginning, that I will be presenting this particular data about academics and things like that, so.
As well, just make sure you remind her, send an email, you get that information, explain, shit, that'll be good. I'll now go down into our action items. I'll read each action item. I'll ask for further information or discussion of the action item at that time. And a motion to approve. We'll start with action item A, the superintendent search firm presentation. McPherson and Jacobson. I'll there's any more information or discussion on this item for the superintendent's search, we can have it, or I will entertain a motion to accept the proposal as presented.
I hope that we accept, at this time, McPherson and Jacobson, presentation for superintendent search.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. The cost for this search should not exceed $18,000 based on the criteria that's been set in this proposal. So, at this time, I will take a vote. All in favor of accepting McPherson and Jacobs as the superintendent search for the Blytheville School District? At this time, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, we'll go to action item B, audio upgrade for Blytheville primary multi-purpose building, Blytheville Middle School cafeteria and Blytheville High School auditorium. A couple of months ago, this is we put out a revisit, we put out for bid, got the bid process, we did a selection of a vendor. And at this time, is there a recommendation?
Just the one that you have in your back.
Okay,
They are.
The vendor,
the vendor is. No.
that's for all three items, Mr.
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Curtis Stout Audio Visual.
Yes, okay.
What is it?
Curtis Stout Audio Visual.
From the out of where the law.
Yeah, Little Rock.
Of the Little Rock. No. Okay.
So yes, I will need a motion to accept the audio upgrades for the Blytheville primary multipurpose building, Blytheville Middle Cafeteria, Blytheville High School. And the total cost of this is $16,362.67.
No, there's three different.
Oh. I'm missing one.
So that was for the funds for
For the
There's
month.
a cost for each school.
Huh?
There's a cost for each school. I
Yes,
don't have it.
right.
I had it.
Yeah.
This is the
The
cost
total.
of one school, the 16.
No, it's, excuse me, it's three different things. Cost for three different things.
but the one you just
Yes, that was just that one.
Around.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would like to have that total.
That school was a 16,000. Is that right?
I have.
The multi-purpose.
Yes.
Well,
That's what.
Okay.
That's the, while we waiting on that talk, and I asked, I think, you know.
Primary.
Mr. Miller, he, authorized you to talk. On the auditorium, what, I just remember, what are we doing to the auditorium? Just three. You know what was afraid that you didn't know. Oh, he's on this.
As far as sound. The sound in the
No,
auditorium.
no, no.
Yes, thank you.
The total is $67,363.14.
Okay, thank you.
That's for the three.
The three.
For all
Once again, board, we were presented with this information. It went out for the proper bids for folks for the services. Audio upgrade, I'll entertain a motion for the audio upgrade for Blytheville primary, Blytheville middle, Blytheville high school, totaling $67,363.14.
You said there were several vendors that bid on this.
No,
Only two vendors that bid. The only other one that contacted off the RFP, wanted to do classroom sound, and that wasn't part of the scope of work. And the next closest vendor was 129,000 for all.
So
We
this
need
is.
grant money for this.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept audio upgrade.
Do I have a second? I'll second. I have a motion and a second for the audio upgrade for Blytheville Primary, Blytheville Middle, and Blytheville High School for the total of $67,363.14. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carried.
1 second. What are we doing to the auditorium? I mean, the same thing, the system, the audio system in there as well. It's nothing else, just all this is related to audio.
Just audio. yeah,
Okay,
and the math.
that's what.
We'll now move down to action item C, the E-rate proposal information. Further information or discussion on this item. Okay. Action item D, professional learning grant, Blytheville High School Kids First, strengthening career pathways. We have,
We were given a grant from the state. And they gave you these different areas and different vendors you could choose. And a lot of talk has been around career pathways and improving our CTE offerings and apprenticeships and things like that that we once used to offer. So now we have gone with this particular provider. They are aware of all of the pathways and the changes and everything that's going on in the state. So they'll be working with the school.
we'll move down to action item E, the Dean of Students salary range and job description. Was attached in our email.
You guys approved the opening of the position. The salary range, it's just on here now to make sure that you all are good with that range.
That ranges from 54,000 to 64,000.
Say it again.
54,000 to 64,000 salary range. The job description is posted and it's being advertised.
How many was that position?
This is for the interim, is for the one at the high school. This will be a permanent position, going into a permanent role.
At the high school?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a list of criteria.
Yes, that's full description, job description.
And it's up on the website for posting.
Yes, ma'am.
It's right here.
Action item F. The
F is the,
revised 24-25 school calendar.
What was
Yes,
the
sir.
changes on that? The year, still the year round?
no, this is our current schedule, calendar. We have to, we missed the days last week because of the snow and ice, so we
Oh,
still
it's
have to
revised.
reflect. And
Right,
we have to add those days in to show 178 days.
okay, so what days are they? On the revised, it's just on the calendar.
Yes, the snow days.
Slow days that we're out. It's
And
added to the.
It was
And you
added
guys had already-
to the end of the
to
calendar.
the end of the calendar, you had already approved it at last year's.
We're gonna do it at the end of the calendar year.
To the June,
But we're not touching June, but we are.
No.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Action item G, move funds from the building account to operations. Relationship.
When you guys approved the painting and artwork in the high school cafeteria, it was coded wrong and it was in moving out of federal funds instead of the 3,200, the building operation funds. So in order to correct that, we have to get your approval. The funds are there. We're not going over anything extra. It was already approved. We just need to get you guys to say it's okay to move it to the correct fund.
All right, so I will entertain a motion at this time for action item C, E-rate proposal. D, professional learning grant kids first. E, Dean of Student salary range and job description. F, revised 24-25 student calendar. G, move funds from the building account to operations. So action item C to G, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Make a motion that we accept B through G and action item 5. Seat.
C through G.
Seat.
See, there's the action item. I second
B
that.
through G.
Seat.
Seat.
We already
C
approved.
through G,
Seat.
excuse me.
Okay, you got that motion right, so we can.
We're just going to C through G.
C through G. Okay,
Yeah, totally in bar.
Yes,
okay.
All in favor of action items C through G, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Now we'll move down to action item H, reconfiguration for the 25-26 school year. The presentation will now be given by Ms. Blankenship.
and if you look up here on the smart board. So this is the proposed district reconfiguration. At the last meeting, you asked a few questions about it and we hit on it, but here's the official proposal and presentation. So when we look at the why, how, and what of how this came to be, why? To make efficient use of our buildings, use staff more efficiently, and be more fiscally responsible. How the district will be combining buildings to meet the why, the reconfiguration. What? The proposal is for Blytheville primary to house grades K4, Blytheville middle to house grades 5-8, and BEHS will remain the same. The pre-phase work is where we mapped out all of the designs. This started in August when I met with the team up here, but some discussions that already started probably over a year and a half ago. So it went from talking to getting put on paper and starting the pre-phase work back in August. The LEA configurations, we will be inactivating the BES and the Blytheville Chickasaw Preparatory Academy, that 6th grade academy. Those will become inactive LEAs. And then the BPS will be configured to K4, and the LEA numbers are already listed on here. And we've talked to people in the state to make sure that these changes are okay.
Okay, what would the elementary building be?
When we get to phase 2, we can discuss maybe this building being cleared out and relocated over there. More reason declining enrollment from over the past few years. We've seen a steady decline in enrollment. In 2004-2005 school year, we were 3,000 students strong. Currently, we have 1,277 students. That's a decline of 1,771 kids and or 58% loss over the years.
That's terrible. Terrible.
And remember, with the loss of student population comes a loss of funds. And with this is 24-25 school year.
Loss of funding.
State funding.
Per student.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. We lost 834,000.
And state funding and federal funding for a total loss of this school year, $1 million.
Solid.
So if you look at the projected loss for the next school year, it's a little under that, 885,000.
Question. If it comes to fruition, what we talked about as far as moving the administration building to BES, are we in a position to get rid of this building? I mean,
If you guys choose to sell it.
It's ours,
put it up
right?
for- Yes, it's our building. But
outright.
that's phase 2, so that's way down the line. Yes,
Well, I
but it
understand
is. And that decision will be whatever you guys
Then
decide
we
to
won't
do.
have to be trying to make the expense here and
Yes.
we don't there. Question, Mrs. Blankenship. Is there anything in type of strategy plan while you in your position? That we got to recruit to go out in the community and try to get these kids back enrolled in the
Yes,
Blytheville
ma'am.
Public
Hold
Schools?
on to that question right there. Hold on to it.
Okay, well, I hope
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
somebody strong, but if they're not, I'm gonna say it. They got to be a people person, got to get out here and work and try to, and I don't see that.
Fiscal responsibility for 25-26, we're just looking at the projected enrollment numbers. And the numbers are going in the direction that we do not want them to go to, which
means more loss of funding, more loss of students. And I was just waiting to say that to get to your question, because you guys created a position, public relations director, or, and I'm probably getting the name wrong, but
Yeah.
we will hope to use that person to help meet the needs of bringing our kids back into the district.
Is that
So
posted?
this is, it's posted, you guys,
Yeah, I know, we talked about it at last
Yes,
meeting,
ma'am.
so it's
It's on there.
posted.
yes, ma'am.
You haven't had anyone to apply at this time? I mean, you probably haven't, but.
Right. But it's out. So these are the 3-year funding loss projections, and these are just projections. And the hope is that we don't get to this particular number, because we want to grow our district. That's what we're looking to do. And remember, you guys play a big role in that and helping to grow the district and things like that as well. And so that goes back to also the beginning, the why, how, what. We want to be fiscally responsible. We want to optimize the school size. And as you know, the primary school it's big, you've been there, so we could probably fit 800, maybe 900 kids in that building. So we have to optimize what we have. Proximity of teachers to assist with class size and advantage ancillary teachers. And some of these things will happen through attrition. So everybody was wondering, well, what about this teacher? What about this? What about this? Remember that intent forms are being turned in. We're collecting those. So some things will just naturally happen. And that means that every single position may not always get, replaced, especially with the loss of students.
One more question. And you may choose not to answer it, that's
Okay.
fine. You know how rumors are. With the intent forms going out, are we seeing a reduction in teachers because of possible reconfiguration? No, good. Okay, that's what she.
Timings, once approved, if you guys choose to approve it, by you guys, the board of directors for the district, the following progressions will be needed to create a smooth transition. And so we're gonna show you the maps. Those are the numbers projected. And the views, we're gonna show you of the buildings and what they look like.
The buildings, I
Can
mean,
I go back one?
106.
Which one? The,
The student, I wanna see the.
The student
enrollment
enrollment,
Yes.
yes.
So
for the K-4 building.
can
Yes.
you tell me how many students you have in the fifth grade? Well, in the fifth grade next year will be the students that are in the fourth grade this year.
Mhm.
So did I? Who was moving?
Our wired person, Jacob.
He's on a remote.
Oh.
He's remote.
He's listening to.
He's listening to this.
Like, can somebody play? Is this a prank tonight?
No.
Okay, cool. Good job.
So you want to go to the other one, that proposed?
Yeah, we were
The
just.
K-4 building.
So
Okay.
just for me,
Go forward.
just for me thinking, for the board's understanding or just more knowledge. What if we were to do K-5 at the primary, do we have enough rooms or?
That actually came up, and if our goal is to grow, we don't want to have the fifth grade there and not have room in case we have to have 2 more first grade classes, 3 more kindergarten classes. I mean, it's room there, but if we're trying to expand and grow, we want to make sure that we have that particular space.
So, the board, that 107, is that right now, the 107 students that we have enrolled in fourth grade?
Yes, and it's projected to be.
Project, yeah.
We have classes in every room right now, right?
Huh?
No.
Primary, there are empty rooms.
Yes, this is next year's projection, so the fourth grade you're looking at is third grade right now.
Right. Well, no, I'm thinking that
You see,
for the combining of the buildings before we approve moving the fifth grade to the middle school.
right,
I want just to know the impact, what it
the
would.
availability of rooms. There's state regulations for how many kids you can have in the kindergarten class, et cetera, and going up. you get 2 extra kids, you know, you need a class.
Is that like 23 or
I
22
got you.
kids?
For kindergarten, it's like 20.
22 in the
I
kindergarten?
have the, up in my office, I can get that sent.
I understand. I got you.
And it tells you what grade levels and what, kids you're allowed in each classroom. So I'll make sure and get that to Ms. White.
I thought it used to be anyway. Oh, what, in the third grade, we just got 95 kids. I mean, that's just, like.
Second grade currently has 95.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we can go next. The configuration, the layout. Okay. Ms. Blank. Or pre-K.
Right, so these are the locations. This is the current kindergarten side. In pink, you will have, that's the pre-K. And then you have your office staff and administrative people and that will work there. And if you look at the orange and the blue, then the other rooms are like your nurses, counselors, library,
Space. the same.
right?
That's the
And then,
orange.
no, the orange is that kindergarten or first grade, but that one side's kindergarten, the other side's first grade.
Did the intents go out before you started talking about reconfiguration?
I wouldn't think so.
Orange is kindergarten.
Orange is the
Okay, orange
kindergarten.
is kindergarten. Okay, what is the first grade? That you got?
On that.
Jacob, to hear us. Can we have this email to us, Jacob, the board member, please?
I can
Okay.
email to you, yes.
Next slide.
And if you notice before he goes to the next slide, there are some other rooms there. So we have to increase kindergarten, there to still be with the other kindergartens, first grade still be with first grade. And Ms. Johnson asked a question, was every room used at no, it's not. Then the next slide will show the primary side. And you'll have your. And even here, there's still some empty rooms, which allows for growth. And you have your second grade, third grade. Things to have all your offices. It was, considered that, suggested that fifth grade will go there, but again, if we're trying to bring back students, bring back Blythe students, then we want to make sure we have the space to put them in. For the next slide, the 5-8 building, campus, middle school. If you go back one to the numbers, so you guys can see that like you did for.
Go to the PowerPoint, Jacob.
For 5-8.
There we go.
Those will be the projected numbers.
Remove all of the playground equipment.
Yes, they can be. It can be. All. And the middle school site building. As you know, Chickasaw Prep Academy, that sixth grade academy, they're in the building alone by themselves. And we can put the fifth grade in that building as well. Utilize the upstairs,
So be
downstairs.
56.
So they will be apart away from all the 7th and 8th graders. I know sometimes that's concerned, my fifth graders over there, the 7th and 8th graders, but they probably won't see them once they get off the bus.
Yeah,
And there is room for both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with that.
Yes,
That right there, because that's good. Don't need to
But
be-
they're-
They need their own.
they'll
Yeah, they
need
need
the-
down spaces for kids.
Yes.
I mean, you know, all of us kids, but yes, I'm definitely impressed about that, configuration there as far as those kids over there. with
Yeah,
those
the
young
question
kids.
was fifth and sixth grade, of course, recess and whatever, we'll put equipment in kind of
Whatever we need to make sure that they still have it.
Yeah, they be.
playground equipment is separation, yeah, okay. All right.
Next, 6, 7, 8.
Right, there are no changes to the high school. You go back to the PowerPoints. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys still looking at the bill?
Oh,
Eighth and ninth. Yeah, that's still,
That's still the same.
yeah.
Can you go back to the PowerPoint? No changes here. Except for the numbers, it's a heavy recruiting, get our numbers back up. So should this get approved tonight, then we're ready to start phase 1 and talking to building leaders to see what's needed. We're best to put people and those things to work on the timetable of getting things moved. Are there any questions or anything else up to this
It's
point?
just gonna happen over the summer, or they gonna,
Yes.
won't be like the move from the old west building to the new one.
From the old West building.
He said that
When we moved,
Oh, from West to
You
high
was
school
still
with
in
the ninth
school.
grade.
you can still in
No.
school.
no, we built the new building for west. And then
Oh,
we moved
yeah.
everything up.
You were at fair. You were at
I
Frank.
don't remember that at all.
I agree, she probably.
No, she was there, she was there.
I was still at Frank.
You were in reform school somewhere.
And so with all of this, probably what you really want to hear is how much money we will be saving. Total saving will be $776,000, at least is what we will be saving. And 700, right? And if we're projected to lose 800 something thousand dollars next year, then this helps, yeah.
Helps offset that loss.
And then, we said there would be a phase 2. And the phase 2 would be later on down the road when we.
Have you met with the teachers at each school over this? I mean, just to get feedback and.
This
That's eight.
Toby, I'll remind you of this. We were reminded of a conversation that there would be difficult decisions that the board would have to
I
make.
understand that, but I was also involved in that and I
Yeah.
know how we felt.
I don't like seeing, I didn't want to see it, but it yields us the possibility to grow and get that campus.
But see, I think I would have liked you to said this to them.
I talked to their principals and their
That's what
principals
she-
met with them and they explained they explained to the staff what was going on.
This,
So this isn't their first time hearing this.
this was that conversation that was yielded to Jennifer, talk to your building leaders.
I know that's
Right.
difficult. I know it's difficult, but
But we're not talking people losing their jobs, so I think that's the
No.
misunderstanding people have.
and they'll end up loving it, just like we did when we moved to the ninth grade.
But
I
also,
believe
you'll
it.
still have that building over there because even if the district staff move over here, it's about 15, maybe, I know it's less than 20 people that will be over there, so you still have a whole building that should we grow, it's still there.
It's still there.
Remember, that was part of the discussion of why we want to make sure that that building was occupied so that we do not have to be
when you're sent these slides, just a quick little thing, the reason those two are in red is because you're gonna have a slight additional cost at those buildings for water, et cetera, because you're gonna have 2 more grades at the primary. You're gonna have an extra grade at the 5th grade building. That's why they show that.
Let me say this, Ms. Johnson,
And these-
the tough decisions as far as this all, the tough decision for this reconfiguration is actually, in a way, considered the teachers and everybody, the ones that are working in the district. But the hardship is on us. It's the oath that we took. We have to make the decision that's going to be best for the district in order for these kids to
I
succeed.
understand.
Yeah, and that's what, I'm gonna be honest, he didn't say it like I want to see it. He wasn't at the meeting, but the state, we have been presented some things, and either we go in finance for stress, or we make this move.
So
And it's a tough decision, but you have to make it.
I think as we prepare to move forward, leaving the opportunity and the option open to regain the ultra campus back in the future. There are some things that we can do. We hold the lever to get kids back in our district. What are we doing to attract and bring more students back? We hold the key to what we do and how we do it.
It's everybody.
If we were to keep more campuses open, that's operating costs with a reduction in enrollment, that will lead to a further reduction in workforce of teachers.
And that's-
We're trying to be proactive
And not do that.
before that
Yeah.
happens. And with the moves that we're making with different pieces of the resources, the outside external partnerships that are coming into the district, the hiring of a new superintendent, we're gonna right this ship and get our kids back. So I don't want to look at this trend that we've been on for the last 20 years of us losing kids. We got to get to a point where we can absorb or gain 200 to 300 kids back by what we do and how we do and how we perform. So let's look at this in a positive lens to take a step back to propel ourselves forward for the future.
And also, it's gonna take not just us to make these decisions. Like you said, to be some satisfied and some not. But before we go into a real, we got to make this move, and then also it's not predicting how many kids are we gonna lose over the summer. And as well as, we just got to do what we have to do, what we have now, instead of it hitting us in the face at the last minute. And it's gonna take this community, it's gonna take somebody that's being hired as that director of communication person to get out and try to bring these kids back to the Blytheville School District. It takes all of us to do that.
So as you think about it, we will have to take a couple of rooms and turn it into a room for our special needs kids at that campus. And we'll put that out for bids and get.
What
You know,
about the
the folks.
ALE? We never talked about them kids over there. They still fine, wherever they at.
At the high school campus. yes, ma'am.
Nothing's gonna change there, right?
Right.
I hope not.
Action item H. Presentation, the case has been made. I will entertain a motion to accept the reconfiguration for the 25-26 school year at this time.
Motion that we accept action item H, reconfiguration for the 25-26 school year presentation.
I second.
It's been a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. We'll now move down to the action item I. This is Blankenship Myra Graham, financial assistant contract report.
Thanks. Pick up this. I met with Ms. Myra Graham from Truman. Well, she's from Jonesboro. She was the former superintendent of Truman. And she has extensive knowledge of working in budgets and with districts. She comes in and she helps, if you know, Arkansas Public School Resource Center, we've been reaching out to them, but they didn't have the personnel. They've had some turnover in their own department. So I talked to her today. She was contacted by Ms. Castor at the co-op and also through Ms. Whitlow. And this is a proposed service contract of what she would do for the district and how she would assist.
Is she going now, did you say that? It's ten.
At the co-op.
Oh, she's at the co-op.
Yes.
And she used to be the superintendent of Kilmer for the school district.
Yes. And so this will just be an agreement for her to come in and continue to offer that support that we needed to make sure that we continue to set things in order from the previous year. We worked on a lot of those things. There's still some things that have to be set in order, and we're working our way through that. And this will help Miss Southern because in addition to keeping up with things for this school year, we're still cleaning up things from last school year. So that's why some things are, slower than normal that we like getting done in
Is
the
this
district. And so
30 days is
30 full days that she will give to us. Also agreed that she would do some board on finances and reading financial reports
got enough of that.
and all of those. She just made the offer to do that training and any other training that you'd like. She
It's
would do
confusing.
some work sessions to try to make sure that everybody understands what they're looking at and what the codes are and what those
Yeah.
numbers mean.
We leave it all. Thank you
Yes.
for her offering that, but we leave it all in and just confusion. I think looking at this $800 per day that she's gonna cost, it's costing the district to come in the 30 days. Did y'all hear that for a while? Y'all talk? $800 per day.
Yeah, I just added it up for 30.
Yeah.
We need the help.
Providing her way of coming in and doing it, right? You gotta keep in mind of that too as well. For 30 days, we should see something in that, cause we've been having a lot of complaints, even in the people that's working in the district cannot get answers. From finance and the finance and accounts payable, accounts receivable department. So if we don't see no improvement in this, then what?
And that's one of the things that she was coming to help work on those things and clean up last school year so that the finance team can work on what they need to be doing now.
I hope in the future, if we all in these positions, including you, we make sure we hire these people that is qualified and to do this, because it's just ridiculous. And this been going on and on and on and on. That's why we said we got to have some good people in place to take care of what they need to be done.
Okay,
And I know he'll probably need time to look it over and everything, but I just wanted to bring you that we do have someone who will assist. That doesn't mean you have to agree to the contract tonight, but just that once upon approval from Mr. Coleman and changes need to be made, then she can start, we can.
My only concern for like $800, but that's not my call. I'm just telling you that since this amount is over $20,000, we've got to bid. Now, what doesn't mean you gotta take the lowest bid, but you got to bid it. But if, I sent that memo out to all of y'all.
Yes.
Now, technically, you only have to bid, you only have to request bids from people who've expressed an interest, but nobody probably except Ms.
But we still do that if we're going through the co-op to get her services.
Well, if she was an employee, it would be different, but this is a contract, so it meets the definition of commodities under the statute and under the school board policy.
Exactly. It's exactly, it's the same thing. We just can't go.
I mean, I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on
No, that's
it.
what we're
I'm
to
just
you.
saying that, that's what I do is I'm a wet blanket thrower.
No.
Well, I'm making sure you have,
Right.
I'm going to make sure you have a copy of any contract, Mr. Coleman. So anytime I get a copy, it's
If
coming to you.
if you wanna shorten this down to 19,995, then you could go from fewer than 30 days, or you could sweet talk her into making it for less than $800 a day, then you can.
Yeah.
That might be the thing to do, is if you could sweet talk it
There ought
down
to
to
be some
under
definition.
$20,000, you might be able to get this thing done.
That's why I made the statement that your board members see this amount, and Mrs. Bogart said she did, because definitely that policy you talking about, we all should be familiar with that policy. There's no way that we can sign this and make a motion sign this.
I don't want y'all reading all those policies, hey.
I know the policy, so you know, like.
Okay, so,
I know.
so, Mr. Coleman, if you can advise us pending further review and possible negotiation of the contracted salary and rate, is there any way the board can approve in?
Well, you can give her, you can vote to negotiate with Ms. Graham to see if you can get this under the $20,000 threshold. She might be willing to do that. That would be,
Let me ask you a question, it's just from my understanding. What if this is contracted out at that rate, but not at the 30-day threshold or whatever threshold it exceeds the $20,000? So if I tell her to come in for
25, 26 days. Okay.
yeah, whatever happened days,
Well, anything below 20.
anything below 20,
So.
I mean, anything below $20,000.
29 days.
So if we could,
if you need somebody right now, you could say,
for
we
7
agree.
days,
Yeah, you could do,
15, 20,
yeah, but you can't, in my,
I know,
you know, it's like, okay, we're gonna buy
Anticipate that I
$500,000 worth
am,
of milk, but
but I'm gonna do it $1 a day. Yeah, I get it. You're right.
Do that.
You're right, you're right. Yeah.
25 days.
No. How much?
20,000. It's the third, that's just 5 days, so put it in.
if she want that job and want that money, and she know what she's gonna come in here and do, that still ain't say taking care of the problem. So. Girl, you know.
Oh, yeah, there's there's plus benefits and mileage, so it's gonna knock it out it's gonna knock it over. You might say to include benefits. That's just it. Because you're not really, if you're throwing in benefits, she's not really a contractor, she's an employee.
I would like to entertain a motion to table this contract for further review of our attorney and communication back to see if we can get this within. Or do it the right way. If this is her fee, we need to put it out and do it the right way. So, yeah, so further clarification and review, pending review of our attorney and district clarification of the contract.
And as I indicated previously, I mean, I think that if you get the word out and you let people know that this position's open and say, we're accepting bids, and then those people that say, I'm interested, then you can then go and do that. But as I told you in the memo, there's not really it doesn't have to be 30 days, and it doesn't even really have a certain number of days. It just has to be a reasonable time. And, I think most people have treated it 14 days to be, kind of, you're okay at 14 days. So if you could wait a little while, probably before you could vote today to give Ms. Blankenship authority to bid and request proposals for people for a financial assistant, and then let them submit, and then submit a bid, put it out for bids, and if she's the successful bidder, then you can hire her, or even if she's higher than the other bidders, if you think that she's more qualified, you can still do it. But you gotta do it the right way.
Look at number four, Mr. The terms of the contract, board members and Mr.
There's a
Coleman.
consideration of just hiring her as a district employee within the financial services department.
You can do that, but you,
But if you are including benefits.
I think if you include benefits, I mean, you can, I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily that it makes them automatically an employee by including benefits, but you're definitely gonna kick it away. You know, we need to know what benefits those are. You can say, we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars plus this much toward benefits. But I don't know that we're gonna be able to include her on the benefit package unless she's an employee. Otherwise, I sure would appreciate it if he'd give me benefits.
Right. So that's what I just had a
Why
conversation.
would you say benefits?
No, that was included in the contract. So,
Okay, well, y'all board member need to look, and you too, Mr. Coleman, look at, on the, termination clause.
I started reading.
Right, well, express yourself with that, because that might help, can help us too as well.
we're gonna table it for further clarification.
Let's make a
I'll
motion
entertain
to
a
table.
motion.
I make a motion that we table, action item I, contract work.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to, for
Contract
financial
for
services.
physical service, so we do it right.
All right. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Visible service.
Financial.
Yeah, that's what, it is.
Motion carries. We'll table this and get further clarification and get direction.
Y'all gonna make the motion right.
We'll now move down to personnel recommendation appointment, of certified appointment of classified, certified resignations and classified resignations. At this time, is there a need to go into executive session?
I would like to,
Okay.
we can go ahead and do this. You want to do that first?
It was.
We gotta vote on it. No? Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Move. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of going into executive session, please signify by raising your right hand at this
I
time.
don't agree with that, Nancy. We just came from that meeting. You don't vote to go into executive sessions. Come on, y'all.
I wouldn't ask it, but didn't need it.
Right, Desmond, no, they were just look at that. You don't vote to go into executive session. You need to go into executive session. Just say you go, anyone needs to go into executive session for personnel matters, and that's it. Yes or no? We said yes, that's it, because you can't vote yourself out. My God, I'll put with these trains. Come on. Yeah, all right, but you have to just express yourself, don't make it stand up, but I. If I, but I need a question. She was gonna do that.
Set the criteria, set the calendar, talk about the point of contact and it's gonna be.
Definitely will.
That's what he said.
For the table bill, selecting the students. Focus groups. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Oh, okay.
Cause I was pretty sure, yeah.
He's like, "One goes back over here." Nice to meet you. Let me go. Yes. Yeah. You just keep taking. Yes, ma'am. They just have everywhere. I was trying my best. 'Cause I was getting so confused by some of the like wordage and the way they were structured. Yeah, I was getting so confused. I was like, I was doing my best to figure it out. Yeah, it was like, go back to the. Go back to the. Might be a little bit more dice, maybe 5 or 6 dice. I got some. Yeah. You got kicked out?
Yeah, some music, some.
You gonna play some music?
That's your choice.
We just keep it on YouTube, play some back.
Need some?
I got you.
You know, you can't just get on.
Oh,
You can't play on music while they.
I might be able to. Like that.
infinity, day, 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 do, do. Color coded just to keep me sane. My world is finally starting to take shape. I press the button and it bursts into life. This time nothing will escape my sight. I see the stars and the planets soon follow. Expect to have the universe by tomorrow. Just sit back and relax, don't worry. The world can wait, no need to hurry.
You didn't start your business to do taxes. Good thing we did. Block Advisors by H&R Block puts small business certified tax pros to work for you. With an average 14 years experience, they've seen it all. File with a local pro who understands your business today.
It was right here in the Mississippi Delta where more than 100 years ago, Black sharecroppers and laborers gave America its own musical identity. Drawing on the sounds and traditions of their native Africa and the struggle of their American experience, the blues was born. This land was the epicenter of musical creativity, offering Saturday night liberation and salvation on Sunday morning. The sounds of Mississippi gave rise to gospel, gave country music its twang, gave R&B its soul.
I don't remember A. But they could, yeah. I was confused because they. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're back in the executive session and there were no actions taken on employment personnel matters at this time. I will entertain a motion to accept personnel recommendations as listed at this time.
I move that we accept all personnel recommendations, certified, non-certified, resign, resignation, and appointment.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second at this time? Second. Okay, all in favor of accepting personnel recommendations, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Was there any other business coming before the Blytheville Board of Education at this time? You guys would just hang tight. McPherson and Jacob's gonna ask us a few questions about a timeline for the superintendency search and you good? Okay. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay, very good.
Can I be excused?
Yes.